Industrial Revolution, according to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, entirely it was a peaceful revolution. Its impacts were lasting longer and deep too. No other revolution has made such a great impact on the world as this industrial revolution has ever made. A true rise of modern industrialization due to powerful and progressive economic technical development in the 18th century is called the Industrial Revolution. The concept of Industrial Revolution was brought into being by Arnold Toynbee. The Industrial Revolution was neither a revolt nor a sudden change. It was mainly a change in the method of production, due to which every sector of life was spirited from their original setup. This revolution prevailed between 1750 to 1850, a 100 years span. During this span, scientists were at the fore. They created new techniques and maximized production. Thereby, the new machine age started by itself. New machines took the place of old machines and weapons. Steam power and electric power replaced manpower and animal power. Cottage industries were replaced by city industries. Production began to take place on a large scale and also at a great speed. Rise of capitalism. At the end of the 15th century, European sailors searched new seaways, and a new era in trading began. Many traders came forward to trade with the countries of the East through sea routes. Financially, it was impossible to export goods to an individual trader. So, many traders came together and started trading. Those who had original capital progressed in their business. Trading with Eastern countries was very profitable. So, many companies came into being in Europe. For example, the East India Company. European rulers gave military protection and commercial facilities to these companies. Due to such trading, the European countries, especially England, became financially powerful. In this way, in Europe, the capitalism era started taking place. European traders purchased spices, rich garments, commodities of beautifully designed wooden articles, ivory articles, scents, etc. from the Eastern countries. In return, they needed to sell only a few articles to the Eastern countries. The reason is that only a few things were produced in the European countries. The result was that European businessmen used gold and silver currency for purchasing articles from the businessmen in the Eastern countries. So, the flow of gold and silver started to take place from Europe to the Eastern countries. European businessmen tried many remedies to resist this flow. They started selling articles purchased from the Eastern countries to other countries of the world except European countries at a huge profit margin. Sometimes, these businessmen sold articles by purchasing from one country to another country, and they used to buy essential commodities for themselves. For example, sometimes British traders purchased garments from India and sold them in Indonesia to buy spices, and finally, they sold these spices in their native country. They reaped great profits doing such trading. European traders presented some precious gift articles to the rulers of Eastern countries in order to flourish their trade and to obtain facilities for themselves. For example, their tax and tolls, octroi, were waived off. They increased their profit. European traders traveled from town to town purchasing articles and goods at cheap rates and sold them at a great profit margin. Europe, especially England, became richer by such trading. Beginning of Industrial Revolution in England. England had the potential for the Industrial Revolution. So, the revolution took place first in England. English businessmen had already reached as far as the Asian continent. England had defeated France in the competition of expansion of the empire. The French competition was no danger to the East India Company of England. British rule had become the rule in India in the political field. The British East India Company's rule had sent huge finance to the homeland, in the same way from America. The British rule obtained unlimited money and goods. England had squeezed the colonies from all angles. From such squeezed property and money, England used it for the development of the industrial world. Progress in science had already started in England. Many inventions were brought into being by very enthusiastic, brave, and innovative scientists. New machines were made. For example, the steam engine by James Watt. The rich and the administrators in England supported such inventions and their inventors. Such inventors and innovative persons changed the economic lifestyle of England. Among them, there were artists, craftsmen, and intellectuals. In England, for industrialization, laborers were available on a large scale very easily. So England could achieve industrial progress. England established colonies in many countries. They received raw material at cheap rates, and they had ready markets to receive or buy their produced goods. England was the main navigational country in Europe. Napoleon couldn't blockade England due to its navigational power and strength. England benefited even when Napoleon boycotted the buying of finished goods from England. Due to political and economic stability, an able government, government businesses, and favorable policies of the government to develop corporate sectors, etc. Individual freedom to citizens. They selected sectors of their choice and developed them. These things were responsible for favoring the Industrial Revolution in England. Nature favors. Nature favored industrialization in England. Minerals such as coal and machinery and technology to erect machines and industries were ample in England. England was successful in utilizing them scientifically. The textile industry and trade were the chief occupations in England. This industry was boosted right from the 16th century onward. The climate of England was favorable to this industry. Long thread cotton used to be supplied from the British colonies of America. Expansion of the Industrial Revolution. This revolution started in England and very soon reached other countries of Europe, that is, France and Germany. France and Germany were already renowned in the development of steel, iron, and chemical business sectors. Industrialization began to develop speedily in Holland, Belgium, Spain, etc. In America too, the Industrial Revolution took place. In Russia, the revolution expanded later. In Asia, Japan developed in the sectors of steel, machines, chemicals, etc. Very surprisingly, within a short span of time. Today, this revolution is prevalent all over the world. Effects of Industrial Revolution. Positive effects. Due to the Industrial Revolution, there was a rise of industrialization. In a minimum span of time and with less expenditure, it was possible to produce more goods of quality. Due to the rise in production, people started getting goods and commodities at the least prices. People could standardize their lifestyle. The economic conditions of the countries where industrialization took place developed. Trade and commerce developed on an international level. It seemed that the whole world had become one big market, and so commodities became easily available at any corner of the world. In industrialized countries, labor movements began to resist injustice and tyrannical acts. Labor organizations were established. Industrialists and workers became rivals. As cities developed, the population of educated people increased. They became aware of their rights, and so in England and France, the democratic concept prevailed powerfully. Due to the Industrial Revolution, new cities came into being. They became the centers of commerce, business, and industry. People from the rural regions rushed to urban sectors. As a result, the population of the urban areas increased tremendously. The Industrial Revolution dominated nature. Traditional religious concepts and superstitions had no scope in society. The common man's life improved. Arts and cultural sectors of life dominated the common man. Short stories and novels became very popular, and literature became very rich. Paintings and drawings remained an inspiration for man. Transportation and communication were developed due to the Industrial Revolution. People came into contact with each other very quickly. In the agricultural sector, new technology was used so labor could be saved and the production of grain rose tremendously. Negative effects of the Industrial Revolution. The common man was negatively affected due to the Industrial Revolution. Due to machines, cottage industries were stopped. Many craftsmen became jobless. The supply of laborers was more than the demand, and the capitalists took undue benefit of such a problem. Workers were being squeezed. Women and child laborers were paid less. The laborers' houses were very filthy and compact. Women too needed to rush to the industries for employment. Most of them were extremely tired due to heavy work, so they had lost the joy for life. The joint family was broken due to moving to urban areas for employment. The worker became an inseparable part of the machine in this revolution. He used to do monotonous work at the factory and hence lost joy and delight in his routine, performing mechanically only. Industrially developed European countries adopted the policy of expansion of their business and trade. They started expanding the empire in the Asian and African continents. So, many countries from such continents lost their freedom. The imperialist nations expanded their mission of religion by threatening the colonists, and there itself the seeds of the First World War were sown. Many conflicts, disputes and strikes arose from imperialism. A number of civil problems arose due to the Industrial Revolution. People from rural areas rushed in great numbers towards urban regions. Due to overpopulation in the towns and cities, problems like scarcity of land, houses, limited water supply, etc. arose. Pollution, ill health, filth, etc. became major problems in the city. Nations became dependent on each other. For example, England imported cotton from America, wheat from Canada. Effect of the Industrial Revolution on environment. Industrialization rose due to the Industrial Revolution. Due to industrialization, water pollution, air pollution, sound pollution, etc. occurred. Because of air pollution, people were badly affected. Due to emission of poisonous gases from some of the factories, many people died, and some became handicapped. Unhygienic and dirty water from industries mixed with streams, rivers and sea water. The water was polluted and people suffered from diarrhea, gastro, jaundice, paralysis, etc. The life of water animals and plants was also endangered. Due to the growth of cities and industry, filth spread everywhere. The problem of garbage became very severe. Due to the rising number of mosquitoes, malaria, flu, etc. spread all over, and the result was that many people lost their lives. Inflammables used in industry caused many explosions, and hence the lives of people at large was surrounded by danger, and at times death resulted. Atomic energy was also used in industrial growth and development. Due to atomic reactors, atomic rays prevailed in the environment and they had ghastly effects on human bodies. City vehicles and the sound of machinery in industries created sound pollution, and men became deaf permanently. Natural resources and minerals are used on a large scale for industrial development. In future, there would be the possibility of scarcity of such natural wealth. Forest trees are cut down on a large scale for industrialization and for farming land. Water, etc. are used largely, so there would be a scarcity of food and grain in future. Due to water shortage, conflicts in society may arise. In short, due to the Industrial Revolution, evil effects in society are noticed. Various inventions during the Industrial Revolution. Inventor John Kay. Invention: Weaver's running shuttle. James Hesgribs, spinning jenny. Richard Wright, water frame. Samuel Crompton, gene. Edmund Cartwright, power loom. James Watt, steam engine. George Stephenson, railway engine. Benjamin Franklin and Faraday, electric power. Michael Faraday, dynamo. Davy, protection lamp. Morse, wire machine. Alexander Bell, telephone. Marconi, radio. Robert Fulton, boat. Characteristics of the Industrial Revolution. It first came into force in England and then spread to other regions. In the coal, cotton and wood industries, many inventions took place and they were largely used everywhere. Water energy and steam energy proved to be useful to run machines, and human labor was spared. Trade and business became more important than agriculture. Trade and transportation became speedy after the use of steam engine, railways and boats. Telephone and wireless telephone proved to be quick messaging sources. The world came very close to us. The Industrial Revolution is not yet complete. The process of this revolution continues. Therefore, the Industrial Revolution is a continuously ongoing process. Characteristics of capitalism. Right to own private property. Private profit and self-well-being are the inspiration to have them. Consumers' sovereignty. Price system. Least role of the government. Coordination between social welfare and self-well-being. Freedom for saving and investments. Right and freedom to select a business of our own. England was recognized as the world's industry. The Industrial Revolution is still incomplete. The process is being known as the revolution without end. It is consistently going on.